You know, we have a lot of people that come from various backgrounds, different walks of life. And the first thing to note is that everybody has something that they battle before God, okay? So this isn't like singling a particular group out, but everybody has something that they grapple with. Some people, it's sugar, and they're addicted to sugar. Some people, it's actually a different type of drugs. But everybody has something, and if it's not this or that, it's something else, and we have to be cognizant of that. But in the big picture, I get this almost every single week, and it's heartbreaking to me because I know the destructive nature of certain habits that people pick up, specifically alcoholism. And it's destructive in nature because it starts off usually in a very subtle way, right? You know, you've had a rough day and you say, oh, I'm going to just kick one back, right? Because I'm going to relax. And then that one day becomes every day until you build up a tolerance and you have a little bit more and you have a little bit more until you're having a lot every day. And here's the thing, you're free to do whatever you want with your body. You have a choice, you have free will. But if I'm going to talk to the people who are wrestling and in the grips, whether it's alcoholism or anything else, but I'm specifically talking about alcoholism. The devil's very subtle. He really doesn't care how he takes you out. Okay? I just want you to think about that. As I actually had a conversation on Friday night with some folks that made me reflect through the weekend deeply on this. And we all have a responsibility to take care of the temple, right? That can be something as simple as making better choices in what you put in your mouth. That's an easy one, well, kind of, but not really. If you want to go down that pathway, I mean, some people are completely unaware that the American food system and supply is tainted and poisonous to the core. And it's directly by design. See, healthy Americans are not valuable to big pharma, to your doctors. So just think about this. We have a responsibility. You've heard people say you take care of the temple. And you cannot, by taking care of the temple, think that you're going to add a day to your life. The Bible says that just is not so. That's God's calculations on who you are as his creation on earth. He decides. So you could be the person who's just slammed down the worst type of food your whole life, and somehow God's decided he's going to keep you from all the stuff that is the byproduct of that. I don't know, though. I can't speak to that. I can tell you most people will end up being sickly, not because they've been bad or they sin, but because they're completely unaware of the garbage they put in their mouth that's rotting them from the inside out. But I specifically want to camp out on one thing, which is the folks that call and they ask me for prayer over their alcoholism. This could be drug addiction, it could be food addiction, it could be anything, but I'm specifically camping out on this for just a minute or two. So, you know, you can tell somebody, especially if it's somebody you love, you know, somebody that's close to you, you can tell them, God, you're going to kill yourself. And they don't really care because it's not reality to them. It's just not. But can you imagine, it is torture when you love somebody and they can't see that they are torturing you by their behavior of doing what they're doing to their temple. This is not judgmental. This is said in the spirit of speaking the truth in love. If you're a Christian, if you're not a Christian, everything I'm saying doesn't apply to you and just tune me out. I don't even know why you're listening. But if you're a Christian, this is God's habitat through his spirit. This is what the Bible says. This is not my opinion. We are the habitation of God. So I really want you to think about that. What you eat, what you drink. No, I'm not a fundamentalist. I'm not telling you. Some of you might enjoy a glass of wine and have a little wine for the stomach's sake. That's biblical. But the ones who chronically are asking me, please pray for me to be delivered, have you ever considered, yes, God can deliver you, but He's not going to deliver you against your will. So you have to be a willing vessel to be delivered. That's number one. Number two, maybe if you just stop for a second to think about how self-centered, and it's not just alcoholism, it's everything we do to this temple. That's very self-centered. It's not God-centered. The God-centered thinker says, this is something that will be displeasing to God. We're not, listen, I'm not a perfectionist nor a fundamentalist. I'm trying to get through to those people who chronically every week are asking me to pray for them, and I do, believe me, I do. But my prayers are not going to be answered if you don't start with, you have a problem, that you must start cooperating with God in His plan to deliver you. That all of these things do not happen in a vacuum. You've got to be cognizant as a person who says they believe in the Lord as a habitation of God's Spirit, to recognize the difference between something once in a while that may have little to no consequence, or the cumulative things that are done to the body. Look, put aside alcohol for a minute. The person who basically once or twice a week for 20 years decides they don't have time and they're going to go through the drive-through of some fast food Arches. You know, do a little homework. You're not eating food at all. That is just chemicals. Delusional in their appearance as food, but it's not food. So eat that and there'll be consequences. And I could go into all the consequences, but you're not here for a nutrition lecture. I'm trying to make the point that if you do a little research, you then realize that's not food at all. And the design of fast food, when fast food first came out, was to make quick, easy, convenient, fast meals that turned into, how can we do this without actually, how do you get a burger for under $1? Scratch your head a little bit and ask how much it really takes if that was real food. And the answer is, that's not possible if it's real food. Now go back to the concept I'm talking about. When people say, I need to be delivered, I'm an alcoholic, nothing is working for me. Start first and foremost with, maybe the focus of what you're looking at is in the wrong direction. Educate yourself a little bit. There's a lot you can learn about your habit or your habits. So let's just take alcohol for a minute. You drink it, turns into another toxin that your body cannot process. I'm probably going to butcher this, but acetaldehyde, I think I probably mispronounced it, but that's what it turns into. Your body cannot get rid of it. It's very difficult. So what happens, all the bodily functions stop to process this one toxin until it is flushed through your body. It must go through your liver, and in the process it creates some damage. I'm not trying to be technical, I'm just trying to say, educate yourself a little bit on what you're doing to the temple of God, and understand that God's not sitting there on His throne with hands on hips saying, now you did that, that's very bad. But if it's habitual and you are hurting the temple, the same way I could say the eye is the gateway to the soul, and what you spend your time looking at, reading, or listening to. This is not, I'm not telling you to stop doing what you're doing. I'm just saying pay attention to what you do and think about the consequences. First of all, there's scientific consequences. Brain chemicals are altered. Actually, there's good evidence to suggest that the brain shrinks as people drink more alcohol, and brain cells are injured, and there's parts of the brain that cease to actually function like they're supposed to, eventually cumulative effects. So this creation that God made, you're basically on your own destroying it. Bad enough that there's environmental things, there's all kinds of stuff, but you're doing this to the thing that God gifted to you. Put it in perspective. So for the people, I'm not saying to you, I'm not going to pray for you. I pray for you all the time. And I take those prayer requests seriously, but I'm also telling you that there are issues when somebody cannot see the consequences. And then I could take this on so many different levels. Think about the people around you who love you, who are watching you kill yourself. I don't want any cameras who knows somebody in this congregation who is an alcoholic and you're at the end of your rope. You know anybody like that? Show me your hands. That's quite a few of you. So you know what I'm talking about. And it's painful to the people who love you because we have to stand and watch you just destroy yourself. Now, I'm not saying I'm standing here as someone special because I don't do anything that's harmful to the body. We all do, just by degrees. So when somebody says to me, please pray for me because I need to be delivered. Yes, you do need to be delivered, but also you need to recognize that, come back to reality a little bit. If you're a Christian, if you're a believer, God made this container. He decided to become, we'll call it habitation inside you by way of the Spirit. So while you say, I need deliverance, there is a deliverer or a deliverance mechanism already within you that you're completely overlooking. Now, God can still answer your prayers, God can still help you, but you got to start first and foremost with recognizing if you're not making any steps towards opening your eyes and looking around you, not just looking inwardly at the damage you're doing to the creation God made, but to friends and family who love you and care about you. And on top of everything else, you say, but I'm in the grips of something. Well, how do people actually get delivered? It starts first by saying one singular thing. This applies to alcoholics as well as non-believers. It applies to everything. I have a problem and I am the problem. And I need to be fixed. You know, when you come into the church, people don't tell you that, but that's the starting place. I'm not a good person. I need to be delivered. That's the prayer of every child of God being birthed into the kingdom. Now you're in the kingdom. You've heard the message. So I'm going to give you another one. It is your responsibility. God is not your nanny to put the bottle or the pacifier in your mouth. You are responsible for your actions, and those actions have consequences. And I'm reminded of the people that ask me every week, and it's usually the same dozen people, and I'm not faulting you. Please keep asking me to pray for you, but I'm asking you to begin being vigilant over your soul. Because deliverance actually from this starts with the recognition that you are destroying something that God made. And when that hits home, it may not hit home now, these just may be words, but when it hits home and you really realize what you are doing to what He made, it might start you on a little bit different track that says, now I realize that I really need help. And when you're ready for that, when you're really ready, God will point you in the direction. It's the people who keep going back week after week. And let me step away from the alcohol to say it's the same problem I see with people who are chronically ill. And I'm not talking about severe terminal things. I'm talking about the people who just will not take care of themselves. And then they want to say, I just don't know what my problem is. Well, start with taking better care of your temple. And I am not the 300-pound preacher lecturing you somewhere in the middle of the country about taking care of the temple. Because that guy seriously has a problem lecturing his congregation when he won't even do it himself. So I'm not a hypocrite. I realize we all have things to combat. I have my own demons to fight. I'm sure every person in the sound of my voice does too. So it starts with, this is what God made. This wasn't a happy accident. This is what God made. Good, bad, ugly. God made it. And He gave me the awareness so that I should take care. That doesn't mean that somehow you're going to extend your life by a day or a minute or an hour. That's God's job to decide. He gets that decision. But you as a custodian, that's on you. That's not just for alcohol or drugs or food. It's everything that we do, and that's not legalism, perfectionism, or fundamentalism. It's saying, take care of what God gave you, and God will probably bless the rest of your endeavors to take care, including deliverance. So I am asking for all the folks that are wrestling with this, as I said, so that everybody can hear and understand. Every person in the sound of my voice, including me, wrestles with something. You have to figure this out. But as your pastor, I'm telling you something. Start with, this is what God made. God lives in me. What am I doing to this container in this house for him? If that actually sinks in, you're halfway to the deliverance that you're praying for. If it doesn't sink in, it's because you have not hit the place that says, basically at the very bottom of the bottom, I have sunk to the newest low, deliver me. That's when somebody's really ready, when they say, I've tried everything, I've tried it all. Do you know why? Because that's the flesh talking. The flesh has tried it all, but the Spirit, you turn to the Spirit will enable you to overcome what the flesh thinks is the stronger of the two. Mark my words on that. I've seen more people get delivered from things that people consider impossible that way. Just think on that. I'm just asking you to think about that. I will keep praying for you and praying for you to come to that place where it's no longer a matter of, I think I can, but no, God will, because I've taken those steps. I'm telling you as someone who stood here for 20 years, but someone behind the scenes for another 10, so for 30 years, I have seen people get completely delivered, sober, clean, and whatever else ails them. It's all possible with God. So keep praying. I'm going to keep praying for you, but please heed something that I just said there that may actually change the direction of what you're asking God to do for you. All right? That's all I have to say about that. I hope that folks out there are realizing this is a real church. I come here recognizing real problems exist, and I'm not ashamed to address them at all. That's what we're supposed to do as a body, gather together, pray for one another, address tough, difficult things, and then hopefully those people who understand what I'm saying can move forward in faith. That's all I'm asking.
To this house, magnify the Lord, lift up holy hands, our hearts in one accord, worship and bow down before Him, exalt His name today. Come into this house.